If the answer is not hell yes, then it's a hell no. Why stay in a relationship with a Minhwan knowing there might be a Jihyuk out there for you? Sometimes you have to walk away from the man you love to create space for the man you deserve. Hi girlies, welcome back to Debrief Sesh, where we talk about dating, pop culture, and dating in pop culture. What I find the most fascinating about the plot of this show, Marry My Husband, is how close the villains are to the main character. Soomin is Jiwon's best friend from middle school, and Minhwan is her first ever serious boyfriend, and later, husband. In real life, I've seen many women who suffer for and because of the closest people around them. It's such a terrible situation, not just because it constantly makes you feel shitty, but also because it's so hard to leave. It's the belief that you will never find anything better, that you have no choice but to count on the people you already have in your life, that is stopping you from seeing toxic people for who they are. In Jiwon's case, it takes her a literal life to realize that the people around her are toxic. She was constantly stressed, sick, and miserable until the very last moment of her life. We love Jiwon, but we never want to be her. Still, we find ourselves in similar situations all the time. We feel bad whenever we're surrounded by certain people, but at the same time, it feels like they're the only ones that we have. So then the question is, how do we know when we need to walk away from someone? And what kind of people should we look for? So today, I want to talk about all the realistic lessons that we can learn from the series Marry My Husband. Before we start, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button because it means a lot to me. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. Number 1. Pick someone who shields you. I absolutely adore a man like Jihyuk, who knows exactly what he wants and does everything to protect the woman he loves. Of course, it costs him a whole life to learn this lesson, but for the purpose of this debrief sesh, let's try to overlook that and focus on his second attempt at life. I think what stands out the most about his character is how he consistently and without any hesitation shields for Jiwon. I mean, that's literally their first interaction as soon as she reincarnated. There is a literal physical manifestation of his protection of her. The scar that she's supposed to have on her arm ends up on his. He continues to shield her from all the hardships of her life. He sets her up for success and makes her life easier in practical and thoughtful ways. From contacting her first crush in high school and giving him the information on the class reunion, to giving her 80 billion won worth of real estate, he does his absolute best to make her life better. So, what does that translate to in the real world for us regular non-time traveling girlies? Now, I'm not trying to say that you should only date a man who can protect you physically or give you a bunch of money. That's honestly quite sexist advice. Not all men can afford such things, and that doesn't mean that they're bad for you. So what should we look for, really? Here's the thing. Any physical or materialistic expression of love has to come with genuine consideration. Otherwise, they lose their meaning and become superficial. In Jihyuk's case, he always considers Jiwon's needs and wants. He is so observant and so considerate of her that he knows exactly what to do to help her plans run smoothly and accelerate even faster than she planned. What really moves me about this character is that he tries to listen and understand even when it is hard for him. That scene in the mountains when he yells at her out of worry because she wouldn't let him help her, my god, it puts me into tears. I was so moved by how much he doesn't want her to get hurt or even risk getting hurt. But when she asked him to back off and give her the space to work things out on her own, he still listens to her, even though it's clearly challenging for him. At the very end, he let her put herself into a dangerous situation with Soomin. Obviously, he is concerned, and he doesn't hesitate to express this feeling, but he does so in a way that is completely respectful of her plan. He innately understands that there are some things he cannot meddle with because showing respect and support for Jiwon matters more than protecting his ego. Number 2. Just because they don't want to leave doesn't mean they care about you. Okay, so we are done with the green flag. On to the red flag. Minhwan has to be the worst boyfriend I've seen on a Korean drama, okay? He is the literal definition of providing the bare minimum while having the audacity to take advantage of his partner. But what pisses me off the most is the fact that he refuses to break up with her. That's why it's so hard for her to cut ties with him, even when she knows very well what would happen if she continued to date him. I've seen this play out in real life very often. The man might not not necessarily cheat like Minhwan did, but they're just very absent-minded and inconsiderate of the relationship. It's like having a partner that doesn't really contribute anything to the partnership. Yet, this man refused to leave. This reminds me of the single married woman narrative, a pop culture term that describes a married woman who shoulders most responsibilities of running and providing for a household with little to no help from her man. Minhwan's character teaches us a valuable lesson of how some men are only interested in taking advantage of you. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm talking about time, energy, emotional investment, guidance, mental support, public image, and the list just goes on. Remember how Minhwan judges Jiwon to be perfect for a wife, but not good enough for him to be loyal? That's how men like him think. They think in terms of the benefits that they could get from you, not what they can do for you. But the good news is, if you're observant and self-protective enough, you can detect these types of behaviors in no time. In the first part, I talk about looking at the intention behind big gestures, right? And the same applies here. Does he actively look for ways to add values to your life? Does he make your life easier? Does he support you in the things that you're passionate about? Does he take you seriously? If the answer is not hell yes, then it's a hell no. Why stay in a relationship with a Minhwan knowing there might be a Jihyuk out there for you? Sometimes you have to walk away from the man you love to create space for the man you deserve. Number 3. A parent's love protects you for the rest of your life. One of my favorite characters in this show is Jiwon's dad. He has to be the greenest of green flags, but unfortunately for him, he chooses the wrong woman to devote himself to. He was betrayed by the love of his life, but that does not stop him from being the most loving, caring, and present father for Jiwon. His love for his daughter saved her from ruining her life. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he literally sent Jiha to Jiwon and gave them a second chance in life. I'm talking about his raising a kind-hearted, intelligent, empathetic, and brave woman. Jiwon's moral compass is one of the most important things that set her apart from Sumin, who shares a similar family background. The main difference between them is that Jiwon was raised with her dad's love, while Sumin was raised with the absence of both of her parents. Sumin's psychopathic behaviors started with the lack of a healthy role model in her childhood. That victim mentality continued to grow in her teenage years and adulthood, slowly turning her into a manipulative, pathological liar. More than anyone, Jiwon understands and empathizes with Sumin's struggles because it was Jiwon's mom who had an affair with Sumin's dad, waking up two happy families. Still, Jiwon deals with pain and betrayal in a much more mature and healthy way. With a lot of effort, she slowly comes to accept her mom for the terrible person that she is, without the urge to carry out destructive and hateful behaviors like Sumin. This is largely because Jiwon got to experience love throughout her childhood. She was taught to be loving and forgiving, and while that later makes her an easy target for others to take advantage of, we can't deny the fact that she has a good heart and she deserves so much goodness in her life. One of my favorite moments in the series is when Sumin finally reveals herself to Jiwon, admitting to all of her schemes and her obsession with her dad's affair. Despite the anger, Jiwon's response is still filled with so much empathy. I wanted to be good to you. In Jiwon's mind, she believed that they could grow up to be best friends who would find family in each other. She sees opportunities for love everywhere because she was raised with that much love. We don't get to pick the family that we're born into, but we get to pick the family we want to create for ourselves. It's our responsibility as adults to address our childhood wounds because the willingness to work on ourselves is the first step to healthy friendships and relationships. So in my opinion, it's very revealing how a person addresses what they went through in childhood. The more calm, honest, eloquent, and empathetic they are to themselves, the more likely they will be a good influence in your life. Number 4, we're living and dating under a patriarchy. How is this relevant, you may ask? I came here for some entertainment, not politics. Okay, listen up. If you think that dating is not political, you're wrong. If you're a heterosexual feminine woman who wants to be married someday, you're participating in the game of the patriarchy, whether or not you like it. I'm all for gender equality, okay? But the truth is that we're not there yet, so we need to be aware of how the patriarchy shapes so much of our experiences, especially when it comes to dating and picking female friends. And the sooner you realize that, the better it is for you, and the less chance there is that you will end up like Jiwon in her first life. Allow me to elaborate. Since we're living and dating in a patriarchy, men will generally have more power than us, and we will generally be rewarded if we fit into the expectation of these powerful men. Emphasize on generally, because this is obviously not always the case. But back to the point. What are these expectations then? You have to be pretty, cute, seductive, seductive and intelligent all at once, which is what Sumin did very well in the first half of the series. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with being pretty, cute, seductive, and intelligent all at once, but the intention behind counts. There is a huge difference between trying to fit into a certain mold to cater yourself to the male gaze and adopting traditionally feminine habits to better take care of yourself or enjoy life. Take Sumin and Jiwon as an example. Sumin always goes to work with a pretty outfit and generally polished appearance, but this is just a materialistic manifestation of her toxic mindset. She wants to look good for her boss, who plays favorites based on looks, or for Minhwan, who seems to be pretty flirty for a man in a long-term relationship. This is completely the opposite of Jiwon in the second half of the series, when she starts dressing up and taking better care of herself. Is that traditionally feminine? Yes. Is that merely to cater to the men around her? No. So, when picking friends, I personally keep it in mind that what I see is just the tip of an iceberg. I know I want a friend who is as giving as she is self-nurturing, as empathetic as she is morally strong. But we can't pick people just because they check off certain boxes, right? Sumin is a perfect example of this. She is so good at checking off boxes. She seems sweet, caring, she takes good care of herself, and she's really friendly. But just with a little bit of observation, we notice how often people like her would steer towards the powerful men around them and put little to no effort in lifting up the women. Some go as far as tearing down successful and or powerful women around them to gain more approval from the man. That to me is a major red flag. And that's all the tea. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you have any debrief session requests, leave a comment for me below. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.